Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 2nd meeting of the Ann Arbor City Council. If you're able, please rise and join us for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would our clerk please call the roll of council?
Councilmember Dish, absent. Councilmember Harrison, absent. Councilmember Watson,
Here.
Councilmember Malik,
Here.
Councilmember Radina,
Here.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin,
Here.
Mayor Taylor,
Here.
Councilmember Iyer,
Here.
Councilmember Ackman,
Here.
Councilmember Briggs,
Here.
Councilmember Cornell.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have a motion, please, to approve the agenda. Moved by Councilmember Ackman, second by Councilmember Iyer. Discussion of the agenda. All in favor? All opposed? The agenda is approved. Do we have communications today from our city administrator?
No, Mayor.
We have an update from the Independent Community Police Oversight Commission.
Mayor, we have Mohammed Othman on Zoom.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Ackman, you have the con.
Mr. Othman, you'll need to, there you go.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, City Clerk, and City Administrator and community. I couldn't be at the council meeting in person this evening because of the fasting month of Ramadan. For our report, there were no ICPAC reports to present in January and February. We did not have meetings in those months. January meeting was canceled because of the community vigil hosting by Congresswoman Dingle, which occurred on the same day and time as our regular meeting. We felt it was important to attend this event and hear the local officials addressing ICE practices. Many commissioners attended. In addition, our colleague, Commissioner Green, opened his New Hope Baptist Church for this gathering. The 2025 annual report update. First draft of the report was sent to the commissioners for their feedback and comments. We expect to have the final draft ready for our March meeting and probably ready for printing and distribution in early April. For the 2025 complaints that we received, ICPAC received 30 complaints that were filed directly with ICPAC and forwarded to APD for their investigation. 25 complaints were completed by APD information managers. The other 5 complaints were closed, were either rescinded by complainants or did not involve APD. On the other hand, 15 complaints were filed directly with APD and were investigated. All complaints were typed and will be graphed, and the graphs will be included in the annual report. For the current year, so far, in this 2026, we received six complaints so far and passed on those to APD for investigation. 2 of those were closed by APD because they did not involve APD. 3 complaints were investigated and completed and will be assigned to information managers for their review. The other item we are working on is an update of our original ICPAC interview questions for new candidates. This was done way back at the beginning of our commission. And we feel that probably with time we need to update those questions, not to deviate too far from the contents of those questions, but to include some other verbiage. And those questions were sent to the commissioners for their feedback and comments. I'm hoping to vote on the updated version at our March meeting. We currently have 2 vacancies and would encourage the community members to apply online using the city government website to apply for these vacancies. Lastly, City Council and Liaison Iyer discussed the City Council resolution regarding banning ICE agents from using city government properties for their activities. Councilmember Iyer also sent us the resolution text to look at. We will be voting on a motion to support this resolution in our March meeting. And this is a brief report, and if there are no questions, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We now come to public comment reserve time. Public comment reserve time is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to council and the community about matters of municipal interest. To speak at public comment reserve time, one needs to have signed up in advance by contacting our city clerk. Speakers in all instances will have 3 minutes in which to speak, so please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk or the time clock will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time has expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Our first speaker today is Tom Stolberg.
Mr. Stolberg is joining us online. Caller with the phone number ending in 534, and press *6 to unmute your phone. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. This is Tom Stolberg calling from 1202 Travers Street in the heart of Lower Town. I'd like to talk about CA 13. This contract again shows the continuing failure to appropriately implement the best value policy. It's still skewed to support council members Ayers and Redina's favorite union contractors via the 7-point advantage given to union contractors to apprentice programs. Yet again, we're spending hundreds of thousands more than we have to, with no real extra value. Bailey's original $6.9 million bid was a staggering $1.3 million higher than the Fonson bid. And Fonson's a very qualified contractor working regularly for this city. In fact, Bailey's bid was higher than the projected budget. Instead of going with Fonson, staff apparently negotiated the price down to $6.3 million by reducing the scope of the work. It's still over $600,000 more than Fonson, and Fonson would likely have reduced its bid a lot too for the reduced scope of work. So this is probably still $1 million or more price difference. The scoring info shows the 7-point apprenticeship program advantage to Bailey, and a 3-point difference purportedly for Bailey's better references. The references from other places shouldn't really matter that much when the city has a huge amount of experience with Fonson. When there is this much money at stake, you should get into the weeds a bit before throwing our tax dollars away. We need a detailed review of how much extra we taxpayers have paid municipal contractors over the past few years. And speaking of paying extra, let's talk about the affordable housing millage that we citizens voted to tax ourselves, and how much affordable housing we are not getting simultaneously because of this administration's policies of favoring private development profits over affordable housing. I want to lead with the Klein's lot. That sale is for over $14 million, and I haven't heard a word about the sale proceeds going to the Affordable Housing Fund. We passed the millage for the affordable housing thinking, as we were told, that parking lots and other properties downtown would be developed for affordable housing, or at least evaluated for that. So I think 100% of that 15 million should go to the Affordable Housing Fund. Can we get a comment on that? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Henry Herskovitz.
Good evening. It seems that if body language is any indicator, I can conclude from the response of City Council, and for those people who are just looking in on the TV, we have at least 3 people turning their backs, 4 people, 5, and 1 has left the room because they don't want to hear me when I speak about a matter of municipal interest called Holocaust education in the Ann Arbor Public Schools. We are not teaching our students the truth, and that's why I approach council. But tonight I bring some good news for the council people that don't want to hear what I have to say, and they would want me to not speak about this. Although I think they're wanting me to stop talking about this is a violation of my First Amendment right, and I want to get that straight, so I have to read this part. I have the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That's in the First Amendment, and I'll have to leave it up to Ms. Call to advise council if they so desire to have advice. But the good news I bring is that I'm willing to let the council people who don't want me don't want to hear me speak have their way. Now, for 20 years, 2 citizens of Ann Arbor, Blaine Coleman and Mujgan Sababa Asfahani, have begged council to pass a simple resolution: we are against military aid to Israel. Well, I am against military aid to Israel, and I think that anybody that has a heart and a soul is against military aid to Israel. My God, in the last 2.5 years, women and children have been slaughtered. Not Hamas fighters, women and children, the amount of which could fill Michigan's football stadium. 100,000 innocent women and children have died. So I'll make a pledge to council that I will stop addressing council on matters of the Holocaust, because that's what they don't want to hear, if they pass a resolution that says we are against military aid to Israel. Coach Bob Knight of the Indiana Hoosiers in basketball beat the heck out of Michigan so many times that it embarrasses me to recall his name. But he did say something important. He said that everybody wants to win, few people want to work to win. If you want me to go away from City Council, this is the work you have to do. Pass the resolution, we are against military aid to Israel.
Our next speaker is Ryan Brace.
Hi, I'm Ryan Brace. I'm a licensed EMT in the state of Michigan and a city resident. I'm here today to speak in favor of the city's plan to establish a first-ever contract for advanced life support ambulance service in the city of Ann Arbor, and to suggest that we prioritize selecting a local nonprofit organization. The 2 unavoidable acronyms in my comment are BLS, Basic Life Support, which is provided by EMTs, and ALS, Advanced Life Support, which is provided by paramedics. The old joke is BLS slows down what is killing you, and then ALS stops what is killing you. Either ALS or BLS can transport you to definitive care at our great hospitals, where physicians and nurses figure out why it was trying to kill you, and then fix that. Currently, the city has no ALS ambulance contract. We operate under the county's ambulance contract, and we have since 1983. This is unusual for a city our size. Separate from this new ALS contract, the city already operates an excellent BLS ambulance response and transport operation as part of our high-performing fire department. The city's request for proposal for ALS response has some great features in it, and I really applaud the way it was constructed. Specifically, the proposal binds the contracting agency to the city's living wage requirements. The RFP also binds the contracting agency to the city's non-discrimination policy, which strengthens our response, especially for marginalized communities. And additionally, the RFP also requires the contractor to provide the city with valuable data about 911 call frequency, ambulance availability, cost to residents, and ambulance response times. Not present in the RFP is a preference for an ALS provider that has local stations, local management, and nonprofit status. Emergency medical service is a rapidly changing landscape, and in recent years, consolidation has been accelerating, and private equity firms are acquiring local ambulance companies and building national conglomerates. I think Ann Arbor is better served by a local nonprofit, and I urge the city to include that preference in the selection process. Currently, 4 companies have bid for this contract, and at least one is owned by a New York-based private equity firm. Most of the current bidders are for-profit agencies. When the ALS contract selection comes before council for approval in the next few weeks, I urge council to look at the governance structure and ownership of the recommended bidder and make sure that it aligns with the values of our city in addition to the needs of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Delani Dunovan.
Good evening, Council. I might actually have some good news for you. Mayor Taylor, I'm actually here because of your public opposition to the administration and their fascist ways. Romulus has a proposed ICE facility that had a protest of 700 to 1,000 people on Monday. In attendance was Representative Dingo, Representative Tlaib, Regent Acker, Senate candidate McMurrow, Senate candidate Al-Zaid. He wasn't there, but he has abolished ICE, and AG Nassel just this week has instituted the paper trail you have to make in order to institute legal action. Representative Thander has had a press conference at the site on Sunday, so it's more or less public knowledge where they're trying to build it now. If you're so interested, I'm sure he had the address. The Salt Lake City, Utah, Oklahoma City in Oklahoma, Kansas City, Missouri, I'm going to murder this. Bahal, Mississippi in Marshall County, and Chicopee, Minnesota in Woodbury County have all stopped ICE facilities, dead in their tracks. They just are not going to happen. Now, this was done by public outcry, of course, which is a great way to start, but the 3 implementations that I believe can be of use in stopping these facilities, I know they're not in Ann Arbor as of right now, but, you know, the 3 implementations that you can have to stop these facilities are the zonings and the neighbor's rights to have a ICE-free facility in their neighborhood, the occupancy permit, and the contractors that would have to update and remodel these facilities would be in breach of a law, more on that later, if they were to do work on this site. And of course, the state has oversights over prisons, and they're not building prisons, they're building holes in the ground. They have $170 billion. Somewhere between $35 and $170 billion, depending on what they're allowed to spend it for, and that's going to fund them for 5 to 7 years. So I don't believe that money is going away, and of course, until it does. We need to stay vigilant. We need to stay perpetually aware of what quieter things they can do. And I appreciate this council's good work in the preceding weeks about making this an issue. Just in the last 48 hours, if you wanted to look it up, GEO Group, which is the housing facility for ICE, versus Menocal. GEO Group Incorporated versus Menocal, M-E-N-O-C-A-L, is a Supreme Court decision that was unanimous in saying that, no, you are not qualified to be immune as a housing facility, as a detention facility. They really argued that because they were housing these persons, they had the same qualified immunity that ICE is currently defending, and 9-0 against. So here come the lawsuits, here come a bunch of things, and thank God the Supreme Court got one right. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., Noam is speaking to the House Judiciary Committee, if you'd like to hear. And of course, DHS is still funded. Sorry to cut off time. We still don't have the signs for local businesses, the anti-ICE local signs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Blaine Coleman.
Dr. Mojgan Savabi Esfahani, who ran for city council in Ann Arbor many times, is right now in Iran with her elderly parents, surrounded by aerial bombardment. Dr. Savabi Esfahani and I have done everything we can to bring this resolution in front of City Council for over 20 years. This resolution on this sign, we are against military aid to Israel. Now we're at the point where the great majority of your voter base is for this. They are against military aid to Israel. The great majority of your voter base is against the genocide that Israel is committing on Gaza. And as of this morning, the last 3 days, Israel and the United States have killed 555 Iranians in Iran. And I hope Dr. Savabi Esfahani does not become one of them. You were very excited to pass a resolution against ICE recently, and it took you no time to do it. And you were right to do it. ICE has recently killed 2 white people in Minneapolis. Israel has killed over 72,000 Palestinians in Gaza. And so far, the last few days, 555 Iranians and many thousands of Lebanese. Is it really that much of a stretch for you to go along with your voter base and just approve a 7-word resolution? We are against military aid to Israel. Dr. Savabi Esfahani is not going to be able to pull petitions to run this time in Ward 4 because she is under aerial bombardment in Iran. I hope that the 2 candidates, Aidan Sova and David Zeglin, will publicly come out for this very simple resolution. Aidan has already signed a letter basically saying this. City Council member Ghazi Edwin has already signed a letter basically saying this, and so have numerous other local politicians.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jeremy Haley.
Jeremy Haley, Ipsy Township. Good evening, everyone. I just want to bring up, I know the development on South State Street, and U of M has a piece of property like right next to it, pretty much. And I was just putting this out there just to create some kind of Ann Arbor U of M welcome center, because that would be a good location, high frequency, somewhere in that spot. You know, just putting it out there is to bring a center right there, bring more people where the U of M can use it, Ann Arbor, to expose the history between U of M and Ann Arbor and how it's they kind of both work together, but now it's not so much. But next thing I'd like to talk about is, right now, everybody is building for property taxes. Anything that gets built and anything I get here at any council meeting here or elsewhere, it's, well, how much money are we going to bring in from property taxes? That system we have is not always going to be in place as it is. It's failing all across the country. There's going to be a major change at some point in time. I'm asking you all to start thinking for that time, because that time may be in your lifetimes. And it's meaning we have to get away from the property tax system and go to some kind of uniform state sales tax. And if you're talking about affordability, property tax is is a big thing in that affordability. You take property taxes out, people can afford more homes. And the next thing I'd like to talk about is Concordia property, the 187 acres. Because the first thing I heard about that when people heard about the 187 acres was, oh, the tax revenue we can bring in from it. And I was like, is that all you people can think about, is how much we can bring in from people in their homes? You're not looking at these people as people, you're looking at them as dollar signs when you do that. And what I'm asking is, to develop the north side on Geddes Road, leave the south side, turn it into a big park, as you want to increase density here, create less density outside, more green space. Leave it as a carbon sink. Also, if they were to vacate the property and leave the homes, you are looking for more places to put people. They do have places to put people that actually live there on campus. That's an asset that could also be looked at if, for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there communications from council? Councilmember Watson.
Councilmember Malik and I would like to invite residents to a Ward 2 listening session on Sunday, March 29th from 3 to 4 p.m. at the Traverwood Library branch. Our guest will be Dr. Missy Stoltz, Director of the Office of Sustainability and Innovations. We hope you'll join us.
Councilmember Gaziodin.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to just bring people's attention to AC2 under Communications from the City Administrator, a response to R24166, resolution to adopt an Americans with Disabilities Act transition plan for Ann Arbor Park's 2025 update. I just want to say I'm happy to see this and thankful to our city for being so dedicated to accessibility and inclusion in both our built environment and our social policies. The plan includes park-by-park planned updates, including plans for adaptive sports. It's also important to note that in addition, currently, the city is working to construct our region's first universally designed splash pad and playground, or Bicentennium Park, so that children and people of all abilities can enjoy our amenities. So thank you to staff, thank you to Parks and our city for their ongoing dedication to disability justice. Thank you.
Further communication from council. Councilmember Briggs.
Just wanted to wish my colleague in the 5th Ward a happy birthday. She's amazing. And I know that she filed petitions today to run again for City Council, and I'm excited for that because I see every day how hard you work for residents of Ann Arbor, and I hope to be able to serve with you again.
Further communication. Councilmember Cornell.
I wasn't raising my hand to say thank you, but thank you. I have two just pieces of information community-wide that I think are important. Many of you have seen that the city of Ann Arbor is considering decommissioning the outdoor warning siren system. And that system I know affects a lot of people in different ways. And in order to provide feedback, there is a survey at engage.a2gov.org. And so I'm hopeful that people will take the survey and provide input to us. I think that will be a really important piece of input that we consider as we make that decision going forward. And then the Ann Arbor Office of Sustainability and Innovations is hosting an e-waste collection event. There will be drop-off receptacles available throughout the city during the 2026 calendar year, and the first one is during the awesome month of March. So from March 9th through the 24th, there will be a receptacle located here at City Hall, available to the public during regular business hours, 8 to 5 p.m. You can drop off household electronics, laptops, cell phones, tablets, keyboards, hard drives, hotspots, GPS routers, modems, cords, cables, looking at you, Dave Queen, CDs, DVDs, discs, tapes, alkaline batteries, no lithium batteries, and consoles. And here's the key, is that the opening is only 1 1/2 inches tall. So if you can't fit it through that slot, it's not going to be accepted. Once the bin is full, the collection is done, but please keep an eye on the city's website as there will be more options for this. As many of you know, recycling e-waste is difficult, and this is a really valuable service that the city provides.
Further communication from council. Very briefly, from my part, as folks will recollect, the City Council passed a resolution a few meetings ago in connection with civil immigration enforcement. In the course of that resolution, we identified one of the practices of current federal civil immigration enforcement designed to sow fear and chaos, that being masking of agents in the absence of marking. The subject of some law in California and some subsequent litigation. We have, that subsequent litigation has gotten to a next stage, and while not definitive, it does provide a point of entry and some possibility for state and or local action. In keeping with the ordinance, in keeping with the resolution, we are in the process of drafting a ordinance which will address masking, the obligation to remove masks where inconsistent with proper law enforcement function, and the obligation to mark so that folks in the public will know the persons with whom they're dealing, the agencies with whom they're dealing. I'd, of course, and I think I surely speak for us all, like to express a great deal of gratitude to the City Attorney's Office for digging hard on this, and to Chief Anderson, who has reviewed the draft and is in the process of reviewing the draft carefully to ensure that we put together an ordinance that meets public need and also provides for law enforcement agent health and safety, because in some instances masking is appropriate. In any event, I want to let you all know that is in the works, and I hope to see it at a meeting upcoming. We now have before us the consent agenda. May I have a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Councilmember Redina, second by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin. Discussion of the consent agenda. Councilmember Watson.
I'd like to pull CA7.
CA7. Further discussion of the consent agenda. Councilmember Redina.
Thank you, Mayor. I just very briefly wanted to address CA 23 and 24. They're both resolutions to rescind previous recommendations for liquor licenses. Generally, the Liquor License Review Committee does not try to rescind licenses, and we work very hard with our local businesses actually to make sure that they're in compliance so that we can continue to support them. Unfortunately, these are two that for 3 years, kind of this recommendation has been out there for us to support a liquor license for new businesses. Unfortunately, those businesses haven't started. That time has passed. This is a competitive field of licenses. There are only 8 available. So we are at this point recommending rescinding our support to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission so that we could make sure that another new business could use these licenses since they are not currently being used.
Further discussion? Councilmember Ryer.
Thank you. I'd like to just make a comment on CA13. Every once in a while, a contract comes along that reminds us why voters passed best value procurement. I want to remind folks that in 2021, voters changed our charter by 78% because they wanted higher standards in how we spend public dollars. For years, we were required to award contracts to the lowest responsible bidder, but in legal terms, responsible means the bare minimum, the company that can perform the work. We could collect information about safety records, apprenticeship programs, healthcare, and retirement benefits, but we weren't allowed to do anything with that information. If the bidder met the minimum standard of being able to complete the work and had the lowest price, they won. The 2025 Miller Road project shows why procurement policy matters. Because it was funded with ARPA dollars, which are federal funds, we were required to follow lowest bid rules and could not apply our best value criteria. A worker was killed on that job. They did not make it home to their family that night. MIOSHA cited the contractor for deficiencies in its accident prevention program. That tragedy underscores why voters wanted us to consider safety and training alongside price. In construction, materials cost what they cost. Concrete, pipe, aggregate, those prices don't vary dramatically. What varies is labor. Under lowest bid rules, union contractors often struggle to compete on sticker price because those investments are built into the bid. Owners of union firms don't squeeze out every dollar for themselves. They put money back into the people doing the work, into wages, healthcare, retirement, and training. More of the contract dollars go into workers' pockets, not bigger profits at the top. As the daughter of a union electrician, I can tell you that makes a difference for families. Best value shifts the focus to standards. It allows us to award bids to contractors who invest in their workers, in safety, and in long-term quality. I want to note that I'm looking into how we can make our bidding process more transparent. Right now, our price sheets don't require bidders to break out labor costs, so those numbers are folded into other line items. If labor is the biggest variable in construction pricing, we should be able to see it clearly. Transparency helps us understand exactly where the dollars are going. But tonight, we are applying a policy that the voters approved. We are investing in safe job sites, skilled workers, and infrastructure that's built to last.
Further discussion? All in favor of the consent agenda with the exception of CA7? All opposed? The consent agenda with the exception of CA7 is approved with 9 council members present, all voting the affirmative, thus satisfying the 8-vote requirement with respect to CA8, CA9, CA11, CA12, CA13, CA21, CA25, CA26, CA27. CA7, resolution to approve a professional services agreement with Agency Landscape and Planning, LLC, for development of the 2028 through 2032 Parks and Recreation Open Space Plan in the amount of $443,000. Moved by Councilmember Watson, seconded by Councilmember Radina. Discussion, please, of CA7. Councilmember Watson.
I believe there's a staff intro.
Thank you.
Staff is in-house tonight.
There was some slides that were supposed to be up.
On here anymore. Here's your board. You just click here, go back like that. Okay.
Good. Thank you. Well, thank you all for having me today to talk about this kind of exciting project and introduce it. So what I want to talk about is our Park and Recreation Open Space Plan that we'll be doing for parks, and it's one of our guiding documents. So what is the Parks and Recreation Open Space Plan? So it's a comprehensive plan for the park system with goals for the next 5 years and beyond. It provides a forum for public input to ensure the plan reflects the values and desires of the community, as well as current trends. It outlines needs and desires for existing and future facilities. It's required to be updated every 5 years to be eligible for grant funding from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and provides justification for grant requests and other capital projects. The current PROS plan is valid from 2023 to 2027. What's in the Park and Recreation Open Space Plan? So it's a community description, our physical characteristics, our demographics, the administrative structure of parks of the city as a whole. It goes into our budget and our funding sources. There's an inventory of park and recreation and open space systems. There's a land use planning and acquisition section, planning process for the PROS plan, how it was developed, how we engage with the community. There's a section for goals and objectives. It identifies major park and recreation system infrastructure needs, and then there's an action plan. And this is what we've done for the last 20 plus years. It has been a template that has worked for us. It takes considerable staff time to do the update, to engage with the community. and ensure that we're meeting these requirements for the DNR so that we can get the grants. But now is different than 5 years ago. We're in a new time period. In 2024, the park maintenance and capital improvements millage was passed. We are finalizing an asset management plan that shows $115 million that needs to be invested in the park system over the next 20 plus years. We have our ADA transition plan was adopted last year, which commits $19 million over the next 30 years. And then we have an ever-changing community with different needs and wants. So the question we face is, how do we maintain our high level of service in a sustainable fashion while facing very limited budgets, an aging infrastructure, increased maintenance costs, and staffing capacity? I want to step back for this slide again while we look through it. Our last and our current PROS plan is 142 pages long. Of that, 110 to 111 of them are reporting back. It's the community description through the planning process. Only 31 of those pages is looking forward at our goals and our objectives, our major needs, and how we move forward. So as we look forward to this new PROS plan, what we think is the best way to accomplish this is with outside help. So historically, we have done this in-house. We went through a procurement process. Agency landscape and planning really showed a really good breadth of experience and expertise that will help us make these decisions, move forward with a new PROS plan that's a good, it's a new way of thinking how we make decisions as a community to meet the community needs with the resources we have. So that's why it's a little bit different than we've done in the past, but we think this is the right way to move forward to provide this high level of service that Ann Arbor is expecting and deserves. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but I wanted to give that little introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Watson.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate your presentation, Mr. Furcho, and coming down here. My time on the Parks Advisory Commission with Councilmember Redina, we saw the first iteration of this back in 2023. We're excited for this forward-looking edition that's going to feature a lot of community engagement, and I'm excited to support this tonight.
Further discussion? For my part, I'm excited as well. We all know that Ann Arbor loves its parks, but we also know that the parks are a resource that requires maintenance and improvement. And this plan, as I hear and I am confident, will provide the community with that long-term vision to make sure that the parks are as beautiful now and as they will be in the future and will continue to improve. And so thank you for the work that staff is doing, and I'm grateful for your vision on this.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It's approved. Thank you. We now come to a public hearing. Public hearings are opportunities for members of the public to speak to council and the community about the specific subject matter of the public hearing. To speak at a public hearing, you need not have signed up in advance, but your speech must relate to the subject matter of the public hearing. That is to say, the specific item on the agenda to which the public hearing relates. Speakers in all instances will have 3 minutes in which to speak, so please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk or the time clock will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time has expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Public hearing number 1, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of Chapter 55, Unified Development Code, rezoning of .95 acres from R4C multifamily dwelling and M1 limited industrial to D1 downtown core midtown character overlay secondary street frontage with conditions. The Dean, 558 South 5th Avenue. Is there anyone in-house who would like to speak at this public hearing? There is no, it's just come on up.
Hello. Let me see if I can get this a little closer. My name's Dennis Burke. I wanted to comment on 26-0061. What is the rush? We have an outstanding long-term plan for the city, And here we are looking at an ordinance for you folks to approve that dramatically changes the zoning in a small half-block area on the south side of downtown, and it violates the traditional processes here in the city. There is a concept building. There has been no approved building plan. I have never seen the city council or any government agency here in this area adopt a zoning change without an approved building plan. Furthermore, this ordinance allows the developers to bypass the DDA building guidelines. If you're going to zone it D1, why aren't they being held to the DDA building guidelines? So I'm not quite understanding what the rush is. And we have a brand new plan, and this is supposed to be a transition area. If you go to that area of town where this 14-story concept building is being proposed, it is basically touching the floodplain. University of Michigan moved their dormitory complex back further south and moved their practice field north because it's the Allen Creek floodplain. And we're about ready to take the Allen Creek and open it back up. The reason why it was enclosed in the first place is because the city routinely flooded in that area. So I'm quite concerned that we're violating the process. Furthermore, the building department has recommended passing of the ordinance, but has anybody done any kind of background check on this developer? This developer is a private equity company that primarily specializes in building high-rise apartment complexes in university settings. Has anybody called the cities and asked them what is the history of this development company? How do their buildings run? Are they maintained? Do they have tenant complaints? What do they do at move-in, move-out times? Have they had any kind of police involvement? Has there been any sexual assaults, drunken and disorderly conducts, wild parties, noise complaints? I think it's very important that as a tenant, you have to sign up to a background check. Where's been the background check on these developers and all the developments they already have? So you are being asked with extremely limited information to alter the zoning in this area when you're already looking at a long-term plan, a transition area, and there's no building that will be of this conceptual size anywhere within a 2 or 3 block radius. It's going to be a massive monument when everything else around it is typically 5 to 7 stories. So I ask you, at least 2 or 3 of you, since it takes 8 to pass, to vote no. Take your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dean Kokalis, and I own a house on South Fifth Ave, one house away from this proposed project. The house that we own, it's been in the family for 60 years. I've got a few concerns about this project, which I don't agree with, and I just don't feel it's the right fit based on its height at its location. Just too massive in height. Approximately 2 years ago, there was a developer that came around, Subtext Living, I'm sure you're all aware of it. He had a similar project on this block that drew comments from the city and board members that it was just too tall. I believe this was also a 14-story building, if I remember right. And here we are again. I just feel that a 14-story building, in my view, belongs in the heart of downtown. And as these projects come to the table with the city, I just feel that as they move out towards the residential area, they need to taper down. They need to transition down as they hit these outlying residential areas. I just think it's a massive project. I feel for the neighbors and I feel for the community that there's going to be an eyesore down at the end of this block. Basically, 2 full blocks of residential housing all the way up into to William Street. So I just don't approve of it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Claudius Vincenz. I live at 545 South Fifth Avenue. This rezoning proposal that stretches between Fifth Avenue and Fourth Avenues is basically a souped-up reincarnation of the development called the Moravian that was voted down by this body about 10 years ago. At that time, a strapping young council member, I think he's still around, right there in the middle, Mayor Taylor said, and I quote now, "Zoning is like a contract that the city makes with its citizens," end of quote. And you voted down the Moravian, casted the deciding vote. Because zoning has not changed since, and zoning rules and ordinances are still in effect, I should just stop here and urge you that the same development should not be voted down just as it is because the previous incarnation was also voted down. However, I don't see a unanimous nod from 11 people, including our representatives, Erika Briggs and Jennifer Cornell. So I continue my argument. I agree that some issues have become more pressing during the last decade, but this spot rezoning request is not going to ameliorate any of them. To the contrary, for example, affordable housing. This development will destroy several dozen affordable housing apartments. No affordable housing apartments are included in the proposal. No contribution to the Affordable Housing Fund will be made. Climate change. The proposed structure is a cookie-cutter skyscraper. It should have a platinum LEED rating. Just a few decorative solar panels on the roof won't do it. They have a huge south-facing facade that they should take advantage of with solar panels. Instead of cars, there should be batteries stuffed in those spaces. Demand what is possible. You have the leverage now, but not tomorrow. Bike and pedestrian safety, another issue. This is another big building without a driveway. Invariably, that leads to the bike lanes being taken over by delivery vans, and the bikers are expelled to the main lane. And the main lane is already being overused by 4 bus lines that circle that block. These are all issues you have so virtually supported. Why this free giveaway? Why? This is your chance to talk, not just talk virtuous, but be virtuous. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in House who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Hello, I am Richard Jacobson. I own the property at 538 South Fifth Avenue. I've lived there since 1983. I strongly oppose the Dean project, which the council is considering tonight. The project will stifle further development on the block and degrade my property's value, both as a rental property and for future sale, especially due to its small, awkward, L-shaped footprint and extraordinary height. Last year, I was one of many residents on the block who had agreed to sell my property to Substex for a much larger project, which would have filled the block, most of it, between 4th and 5th Avenues from Madison almost up to Packard. And they withdrew their proposal precisely because the city rescinded a promise to accord D1 zoning to the project. Without that zoning, Subtext projected a much greater cost and possible losses from having to meet the requirements for a PUD. Its investors drew nervous and axed the project. Now, just months later, another sensible project, far less sensible project, the Dean, is being proposed with D1 zoning. The Dean's small footprint, coupled with its ridiculous proposed height, perched at one end of the block in the south, taking all the sun and the view, is unsightly. It will overshadow the surrounding 19th century homes, make rental units
units in those homes, including mine, less attractive to potential renters due to highly increased noise, traffic, and shading. The Gasly project is nothing more than a repeat of the Moravian, which was soundly defeated by this city council some years back. The mayor then said, the city wants development on this block, but this project is a wrong project for it. The Dean, just like the Moravian, is the wrong project for this area. I was stunned and angry when the city killed the subject project. Actually, I'm of a retirement age. The offer sale price would have allowed me to retire in comfort. I should not be subjected to a series of consistent, capricious decisions by the city as to the development and zoning on this block such that I cannot reasonably weigh investing improvements on my property against the likelihood of a future sale to a developer. The Dean diminishes my likelihood of future sale of my property to another high-density developer. How exactly is another high-density project going to cope with that L-shaped configuration of the Dean if it's built once it's in place? The Dean will result in chaotic patchwork development within the rest of the block, with future developers inserting skyscrapers on scattered small footprints.
Thank you.
I printed it out, so.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Mr. Mayor, I'm president of the Germantown Neighborhood Association. Do I have 5 minutes?
Rules provide for 3 minutes.
Okay, you changed the rules?
I have not changed the rules.
The rules used to be 5 minutes. Okay, anyway.
Not since 2009.
Okay, can you reset the clock after that debate?
It's not a debate. You asked questions.
Upzoning an R4C area all the way to D1 to benefit just one developer without regard to the collateral damage and other stakeholders is really preposterous. Jumping ahead of the comprehensive land use plan for one party, instead of waiting for citizen input and for the city rezoning process to play out, is undemocratic. Our 2-story craftsman houses, represented by this, will be dominated by a 14 or 16-story tower. Here's the tower. This is the scale. This is the tower. These are our houses. That's the scale. However, the Planning Commission isn't satisfied with 161 feet. They want it to be 180 feet. Okay, you've got to add that much space on top of this against our 30 or 40 craftsman houses in the neighborhood. This neighborhood was developed in the 18th and 19th centuries. You know, we're real, we're people, we live there. The D1 zoning change will adversely impact the public welfare and property rights of nearby residents and the city at large. 182 student apartments and 84 vehicle spaces create a level of density that this area cannot absorb. South 5th and South 4th Avenues will be clogged by delivery trucks. They'll be parked in the bike lanes. This is true already for the yard and many other structures. However, the yard is only 6 stories. It's 2 blocks away, it's 6 stories. Everything else in the neighborhood is about 3 stories. You have to go very far to even find something that's 7 stories. Buses will be impeded, and so will everyone else trying to get from A to B. Moreover, it's unfortunately a planning staff falsehood that the Allen Creek floodway stops at the curb. That's not how water behaves. Increased density in the floodway is against city policy, period. Building at this location goes against sustainability. The huge rush for spot rezoning is highly suspicious. We citizens ask for 3 of you, at least 3 of you, to have the integrity, respect for citizens, and love of Ann Arbor to vote no. If we go home having to lick our wounds, then trust me, you've stepped in a hornet's nest. We have media abilities, and we will pursue them. We will get national attention to the flow of money into city council and how the campaigns get funded.
Thank you.
When do I start?
Whenever you wish.
I agree with the question of why doing this now when you're on the brink of finalizing a coordinated and presumably thoughtful plan for the entire area. And also, I think you would not be taking into account the most recent data on population expectations to see how much we really need to build. I want to talk more generally about what the goals are relevant to this building. If you want people to live and to visit our downtown instead of driving through it or away from it, we need pedestrian-friendly designs like what I saw the city promoting roughly 10 years ago, with retail at the street level, spaces for trees and benches along the sidewalks, because no one enjoys walking alongside a big solid wall. I'm skeptical of what you all and the developers say, so I'm looking at what gets done, and I'm thinking of the standard, which was completed recently on Main Street at Packard. And we placed an attractive red building that was set back about 10 feet for trees and shrubs. Now we have the standard featuring a block-long wall along Main Street. There are windows that are always covered because the renters' beds and dining and whatever are right on Main Street, no setback. The building itself has some finished corners with cheap-looking brick after that does not match it, an aluminum and what looks like white aluminum siding that would be great in a trailer park but has no place on Main Street downtown Ann Arbor. I think it is the ugliest building on Main Street, and it is the most recently constructed as far as I know. That tells me where your standards are going, and I am concerned about the whole project here. Pedestrians also clearly want green spaces. I know, because I cannot spend half an hour in my garden before someone I've never seen before, all kinds of people, take the time to stop and tell me how much they enjoy walking past my garden and home. Please protect the trees and the green spaces. This is what makes Ann Arbor beautiful. The most frequent concern that I've heard at these meetings is about having housing that allows people who work in Ann Arbor to live here, to achieve the diversity that many of us want, and to promote healthy walking and low traffic. And I will add, to promote community, so that by encountering the teachers, nurses, janitors, waiters, not only at school or at work, but also in the grocery store, the library, the cafes, and on the streets. One does not need to own a car to live here comfortably. It is easier to afford the rent when one does not own a car. Apartment buildings with private gyms and parking, private parking, are expensive. If you want to provide affordable housing.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. I live in Ward 1, and I see I'm once again wholly represented. You know, it concerns me when I see that, because it makes me think that this body doesn't really listen to public hearings, and I wish they would, because these folks who are living right next to this monstrosity you're considering tonight have said almost everything that was on my page here. I just want to add a couple things. Not only do I feel like public hearings aren't heard, I feel like you guys don't read what's on the agenda that you're passing. I just want to point out real quickly that CA12 has a major typo in it, if I'm not mistaken. CA12, where you are setting aside the money for the...
Point of order.
Sir.
Yeah, point of order.
Sir, can you confine your remarks to the...
CA12 is setting aside money for improvements to Packard, including a 12-inch water main, which is necessary for the construction of D1 buildings outside of the downtown zone, like this one. And there, if you care to read what is the business before you, you would see that it refers to the Nixon Road reconstruction project, not the Packard Road project, okay? So check out what you're approving. I think this is a horrible project, of course, and I agree with the neighbors.
And it's your obligation to deny the petitioner this request, if only because this same building, this oversized building that doesn't belong there, could be built using a planned unit development that would actually give us community benefits. It would give us 27, by my estimation, units of affordable housing. The exact same building. So I don't believe that you should pretend to care about affordable housing if you pass this without telling a developer to come back and give us some affordable housing on this project, a project that shouldn't even be zoned in this condition. I know some trolls are going to say all housing is good housing, but if you, our representatives, are unable to differentiate between housing that fulfills the community's stated goals and needs of affordability and sustainability, and a project like this that only fulfills the developer's profit motives, that's a problem. And so now I'm speaking to the residents out there. If this body is willing to put a 14-story building 10 feet from a residential zone, when it should, this is 10 feet, from a residential zone which shouldn't even be there, with no CLUP to back it up, imagine what they're going to do to your residential neighborhoods when there is a CLUP, which they are going to claim gives them a mandate to do whatever they want. If you pass this now, you're showing the city exactly where you stand. You do not stand with fair housing, you do not stand with affordable housing, nor sustainable housing.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in-house who would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone online who'd like to speak at this public hearing?
Adam Juskevich, do you have a comment?
Hi, this is Adam Juskevich calling from the 4th Ward. I support this rezoning. We've seen a number of proposals come and go for this site for various other assemblages of parcels on the same block over the years. The Madison, the Moravian, I forget the name of the most recent one, and now we have the Dean. Each time, the continued development in the surrounding area close to downtown has made the case to rezone this site easier for home builders to make and harder to justify denial. The fact is that downtown has spread to surround this location. It's close to student-oriented apartment homes on Main Street, close to a new University of Michigan dorms, and close to both the Blake Transit Center and the future University of Michigan Madison Transit Center. It's an entirely appropriate location for dense student-oriented housing. This is a great location for a project like this. Please do not deny much-needed housing while we are in the midst of a housing supply crisis. I want to thank the builders for bringing this forward and thank Planning Commission for recommending approval. Please vote yes on this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caller with the phone number ending in 534. Do you have a comment? Go ahead.
Thank you. Tom Stolberg again. This upzoning presupposes the outcome of the comprehensive land use plan, designating this area as the hub land use category. Did council already deliberate on the comprehensive land use plan yet? No. Did council vote on the CLUP yet? No. Did council have the detailed neighborhood level examination and public input that they promised us? And they said, don't worry, that will take a long time. Did you do that yet? No. The new developments all around this area are D2, not D1. Even the new U of M dorm, which doesn't have zoning, is D2 height. The yard and the other one across on Main Street, from that, they're D2. The standard is D1 on the north half, but D2 on the south half. This is south of there. This should not be upzoned more than D2. If the city wanted to upzone it more than that, it should be done as a planned unit development, as the prior speaker said. We would get almost 30 units of affordable housing that way, or the cash equivalent, a few $1 million for our affordable housing fund. That's what was recently done for the Verve and the Rambler over on Church and Forest. which extended density south of South University in a similar manner to what's being done here. If City Council wants to approve this project, it should deny this application and tell the developer to bring it back as a planned unit development. This has been done before. Witness the Garnet. Council members cannot possibly say that they are pro-affordable housing and approve the project in this manner, eschewing almost 30 units of affordable housing. We can have density and affordable housing. We just need a city council that'll stop giving away the affordable housing opportunities. Do new expensive buildings pay into the affordable housing millage like we all do? Yes, they do, but do the math. That's pennies on the dollar to what the city is giving away with these types of approvals. It will take many, many decades for the 1 mil tax on this property to provide as many affordable units as we can have right now. And please, don't anybody try to claim that, oh, nothing will get built if we make developers provide affordable housing that our own zoning law says they should. Many developers are doing it. I gave you a couple of examples.
30
and
seconds.
Recall, Morningside in Lower Town came in at double the rent they said they would, after the city gave them an illegitimate waiver of 93 units of affordable housing. The justification employed to say that this meets the current comprehensive plan is beyond ludicrous. That logic would permit anything, anywhere, and makes the idea of a plan even arbitrary and meaningless.
Time.
Further, the condition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I don't see any other callers online with their hands up.
Good evening, council members. My name is Brad Moore with J. Bradley Moore & Associates Architects. I'm one of the architects on the project. I have with me today representatives of the developer, also our civil engineering consultant and our planning consultant. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have. I'd like to remind you that the Planning Commission deliberated this project and they came to a unanimous recommendation of approval. That the planning staff has an extensive report which indicates that this comports with the overarching goals of the 2009 comprehensive plan, irrespective of what the 26 proposed plan may say. That after this process, if you vote to approve the rezoning, there will be a site plan filed, and that site plan will show that we will be meeting all the DDA standards for streetscape improvements. And it is not in a floodway, and our civil engineering consultant is happy to address that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any other callers online.
Seeing no one, this public hearing is closed. We have before us the regular meeting minutes of February 19, 2026. May I have a motion, please? Moved by Councilmember Watson, seconded by Councilmember Guzzi Edwin. Discussion of the minutes. All in favor? All opposed? The minutes are approved. B1, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of Chapter 55, Unified Development Code, rezoning of 0.95 acres from R4C multifamily dwelling and M1 limited industrial to D1 downtown core midtown character overlay secondary street frontage with conditions. The Dean, 558 South 5th Avenue. Moved by Councilmember Briggs, second by Councilmember Ackman. Discussion, please, of B1. Councilmember Briggs.
Thanks, and I'd like to thank everybody who came tonight and called in to speak about this proposed rezoning. Obviously, what's in front of us this evening is a rezoning, not the actual site plan, and so it's important for us to consider whether or not that rezoning is appropriate or not, looking at the site plan as sort of as a reference point. But I know that Planning Commission and planning staff have dug into these issues. They've wrestled with them. I also wrestled and looked at sort of the analysis in the site plan and have come to also agree with their recommendations, and I do support the rezoning this evening. We've heard a few things tonight about this project being sort of rushing ahead of the the comp plan process, but certainly planning staff and planning commission are providing guidance that this is consistent with the recommendations of the 2009 comprehensive plan as well in terms of what those recommendations look like, and understanding that there is a desire and stated goal there to see more housing in the downtown and the near downtown area. We have to acknowledge that the University of Michigan has grown 35% in terms of their enrollment over the last 20 years. We are seeing a major demand, not just from students, but from the student community. It's important to, in the context of this project, to discuss. And in context, this is right across the street, essentially, from where the university is already growing. But we're also seeing that our comprehensive planning process, which has been long and deliberative, is also recommending that this area become a hub. And that's certainly influential in terms of understanding what that planning process looks like and what those recommendations are. And that's been a couple of year process. It's been passed by Planning Commission. It's coming to us in the next meeting, and I anticipate supporting that plan. I know issues of flooding have been raised here. This is not in the floodway. It's important for us to understand that. I recognize and appreciate the comments that were made in terms of water doesn't always, it moves in different ways, but the reality is we have to pay attention to what our maps look like, and it is not defined as a floodway, it's a flood fringe, and any future projects will have to abide by that in terms of their design. Finally, I guess I would just like to note that I heard an insinuation.
Councilmember?
Okay, I'll save that for later.
Further discussion? Councilmember Ackman.
Following on the floodplain issue, because when people wrote in about this, I wanted to look at the details because I also know about the Elbel Field and how they had to deal with water over there. So I'm well aware. I actually work in the Perry building just up the hill from this development. So I'm very familiar with the area. I did notice in one of the reports attached to our agenda item that it says that this project actually will remove residential structures within the floodplain. And so my understanding is, in a sense, it actually creates a more robust situation with respect to flooding. And I didn't know if the staff are on hand to talk a little bit about how this improves or addresses the fact that it's in this area. I think that would be helpful information to have.
We're working on it.
Mayor, Alexis DeLeo is on Zoom.
Oh, get it over with. You don't have any arguments to talk.
Sir, please. Please. Please.
Do you need me to ask a more specific question? Did you get that, Ms. DeLeo?
Yes, I understand that, or I know that you commented that there are existing structures, residential structures in the floodplain on this site, and they will be removed. That is true. How will that impact the hydrology? I can't answer that scientifically, but it seems to make some sense to me that any new structures on this site will have to, I believe that residential structures must be elevated above the base flood elevation, above, even a little bit above that, and that any non-residential uses can be flood-proofed. This proposed building, it will be designed to the high-rise residential standards. It will be elevated above floodwaters will be designed to pass through the building. Now, there will be structure in the floodplain. They're planning the garage to be there. In all honesty, I believe cars may be ruined by floodwater if it comes to that. But in terms of loss of protection of lives, new development following current standards would be to a higher standard than the existing structures. And my instinct tells me that the way new buildings would be designed, any new building that allows floodwaters to pass through and where the living space is elevated above, would have a net benefit over the existing structures that were developed before there were floodplain regulations.
Thank you.
Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Mayor. While we still have staff, we heard a few people talk about the kind of PUD versus rezoning concept. I wonder if a PUD was considered here or how we got to kind of rezoning versus PUD. If you could speak a little to that.
I can speculate a little bit. I cannot address exactly why this applicant chose conventional zoning over PUD. I will say that our PUD regulations treat planned unit developments as a custom zoning district intended for unique land uses or unique sites where our conventional districts don't fit or can't accommodate. And this is not a super unique land use. It's residential. It may have some challenges to develop. There is floodplain on the site. It's located on a fairly steep slope. So I suppose they could have considered a PUD, but I believe they felt that conventional zoning may be the best fit. The advantages of conventional zoning are it can evolve and grow. Uses can be added or subtracted, and it can grow with the city. I'll give an example of some of the limitations of PUDs. We have some older PUDs, say anything from 20 years before. You can't do a short-term rental there because it wasn't even invented at the time. So obviously those supplementary regulations don't even allow it. And so you might have recalled you've seen a PUD or two come through wanting to change and evolve. And it's a lot of effort. It's a heavy lift to address things that weren't even invented or not a thing 20 years before. So this is, I think, why a lot of developers do just go with conventional zoning. If they can build it conventionally, why not? That's my understanding. And I'll just close by this part by saying it's not required. It was not already a zoned PUD. When you rezone, you open up the book and you see what fits best.
Further discussion? Councilmember Briggs?
Yeah, and I just wanted to pick up on that point around the PUD. I think there's always a desire to for us to want to customize everything, right? But it's important in terms of the PUD process, as Ms. DeLeo mentioned. First, what happens is we have to see if a project fits within a certain zoning category. And in this case, both staff and Planning Commission believe that it does fit within the D1, assuming with the conditions that are put in place and with the Midtown Character Overlay District, which creates a height limitation. I understand, certainly when I've walked around this area, the fact that this is at the base of a hill is influential for me in terms of what the impact is going to be. I recognize from those of you who are living in closer proximity to this that this is a big shift for the area, and I understand. I understand your concerns around this. I think our job at the table is to try to balance those a variety of different issues, those being sort of the neighborhood-based concerns, as well as the larger issues that we're facing as a community and the need to be able to provide the type of housing that is needed to support the needs of our community today. Just as all of us are fortunate to live in this community, there are many others who are coming and really need places to live here. So I do find it somewhat insulting for one commenter to suggest that anything else would be influencing my decision on this one. It is certainly trying to think in the best interest, long-term interest of our community and our neighborhoods as well. So I appreciate everybody who's spoken this evening, and we'll be voting in favor, as I mentioned.
Further discussion? For my part, I will be voting in favor as well for the reasons articulated by my colleagues, and as we know that that this rezoning does comply with the existing comprehensive land use plan and also conforms with the directionality and particulars of the draft plan. The rezoning, I think, is going to be advantageous to the city as a whole. It's going to advance goals that we have had over the course of years. Those course of years meaning that we have had tens of thousands of people who work in Ann Arbor are unable to live in Ann Arbor. We've had 10,000 plus new students come to the university, and that has created a housing crisis in our city. That housing crisis cannot be met we cannot ignore it because it is driving up prices throughout the community for everyone. I appreciate that proximate residents view this with disfavor, that they recognize that this will change their neighborhood, but I will also say that their neighborhood is in the process of changing and changing irrevocably. The University of Michigan, as we all know, is creating dorms down the way with thousands and thousands of students. This is an area of town that is itself transitioning and changing, and I believe that this zoning reflects the directionality of that change. We need to ensure that people who work in Ann Arbor are able to live in Ann Arbor. We can only do that by allowing the building of housing. We have, over the course of years, artificially restricted housing supply throughout the community, and that has had devastating effect on people's lives, on their ability to walk to work, bike to work, live in the community where they work. It has hurt everyone who needs to buy a home here, rent a home here. And so this, I think, as Councilmember Briggs has indicated, is part of a long process, part of a process to provide for the structural needs of our community. I recognize and I do regret that the people who live next to this project are not looking forward to it, are looking for it with apprehension, with concern, and that is a loss, and I am sorry for it. I will say there has been some reference to the history of the Moravian. The quote attributed to me at the podium, contemporary reports identify that as being a quote from Walt Spiller rather than myself. All I know is what I see before me in the Chronicle, and I am on record as having voted in favor of the Moravian back in 2010. And I'll also add, following up on Councilmember Briggs' point, we do hear our own motives called into question and insulted here at the table. And that is done without evidence because no evidence exists. All the folks here at this table, this is a part-time job. We do this work because we love the community that we have, and we're working hard to build it into a community that, that is going to be here for everyone. That's what we're doing here. To say otherwise is a falsehood. Further discussion. All in favor? All opposed? It is approved with 9 council members present, all voting in the affirmative, thus satisfying the 8-vote requirement. Do we have the pleasure of a closed session today?
No, thank you, Mayor.
We have before us the clerk's report of communications, petitions, and referrals. Can I have a motion, please, to approve the clerk's report? Moved by Councilmember Briggs, seconded by Councilmember Cornell. Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. Do we have communications today from our city attorney?
No, thank you, Mayor.
May I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Councilmember Cornell, seconded by Councilmember Iyer. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? We're adjourned.